Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of July 6th, 2025. Each week, the episode has a theme, and they are mini predictions of what is to come, a story that often shows up in the news. Love in a Time of Cholera was a mini prediction about myself. I had a wonderful vacation, but I caught some kind of bug on the cruise, and so there was no romantic reunion with me and my boo when I got home because I was sick. Last week's theme was the Medusa myth. Venus and Uranus met at 29 degrees of Taurus, a degree of crisis and decay, 3 degrees from the fixed star Algol, which is related to the Medusa mythology. Sean Combs' trial wrapped up, and it was a split verdict, and the most serious charges, he was found not guilty. My understanding is that some of the sex workers that were involved in the freak-off testified that Cassie was a very willing participant and often was the one who reached out to them, initiating contact. Anyway, that led to the not guilty around some of the racketeering charges. And after he was announced not guilty, there were people outside the courtroom celebrating, squirting baby oil. It really was a distasteful scene because even though he was found not guilty, the things he has done are horrifying, and we saw on videotape him brutalizing Cassie. There's so much about him and his violent behavior. And we are seeing with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, Saturn can be cruel, controlling, brutish type of person. Neptune romanticizes, and Aries is violence. We're seeing romanticizing the brute and rising misogyny again. Medusa was demonized for being assaulted sexually, and Cassie is somewhat of a Medusa type figure. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birthdate book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birth date candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The theme of this week is King Solomon's Judgement. And there are 3 big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that Uranus will enter Gemini tomorrow, July 7th to November 7th. And then again in April 25th, 2026 through August 3rd of 2032. Uranus is the great awakener. It is the higher octave of Mercury, ruling scientific advancements, radical thoughts, revolutionary thoughts, innovative ideas. It's the planet of shock and awe. Uranus is the great awakener. It's the higher octave of Mercury. So brilliant thoughts, ideas that just come out of nowhere, where you just feel like, you know something. Eureka. It is breakthroughs as well as breakdowns. So notice if you get like some really amazing ideas soon after Uranus goes into Gemini. Saturn is traditional. Uranus sees the tradition and wants to make it better, or wants to fight tradition. It's punk rock is very Uranian. You may notice someone who's dressed so out there. It's like the outsider is represented by Uranus. Someone who doesn't conform to society's norms or fit in, either because they just don't or because they are fighting the confinement of society's conformity. It rules sudden events and upheaval. Tornadoes, earthquakes, lightning strikes are all Uranian, things that are very sudden. This planet can be explosive and related to sudden attacks. In the sign of Gemini, which is an air signs are humane. They communicate and connect. We are going to be seeing more and more advancements in tech and AI. Gemini rules children, siblings, early education, the lungs, the fingers, the hands, the wrists, the arms up through the shoulder. Also rules transportation. Flying cars is something people think of when they think of Uranus in Gemini, but all kinds of advancements in transportation. We will likely need to be shoring up highways and buildings because of climate change. Europe is having intense heat wave right now, and the Eiffel Tower needed to be closed, part of it, because it was so hot. And in Italy, there was a grid outages that were happening. So we will see more and more of these power outages, either because the power needs to be turned off. So interruptions, that what Uranus like interrupts, disrupts suddenly, will be happening more and more. So my recommendation would be keep all your devices charged at all times, because depending on where you live, you may not know when the government will need to power down in order to manage the electrical output. AI uses a lot of energy, so it will be competing with the needs of society. So tech and society, these are going to be like the duality of Gemini competing. The US has always been in a war with Uranus and Gemini. The Revolutionary War, World War II, and the Civil War all coincided with this transit. The country has Uranus on the descendant, and that is an angle which is symbolic of allies and open enemies. So we have gone to war in these times. The president dropped a bomb on Iran. Right now, that conflict is quiet, but it could rise up again. We are having a civil war of sorts that is somewhat cold right now, but the president has sent the military into Los Angeles related to the ICE raids. We will see more and more people in the streets as the administration takes actions against people that are in violations of people's rights. And with the South Node in Virgo, health is a concern. So Gemini rules the lungs, fires raging all around the world, and it is likely they are going to start to cause problems with air pollution. In fact, in Los Angeles right now, there's a story about a landfill that, because of the intense heat, there's something going on where it's emitting the noxious odor that is making people in a town sick around the landfill. Earthquakes, tornadoes, these sorts of things are Uranian. So just be aware around when Uranus enters the sign or whenever it's active. These are the natural disasters that can be in the headlines. In France, there was a ruling this week. I'm taping this on Wednesday, July 2nd, that there is a smoking ban where people can no longer smoke on public beaches, near playgrounds, schools, and a whole bunch of other places, which that is causing a little upheaval in France because some people think it's a violation of their freedoms and rights. The government says they want to protect the health of future generations. So that is going on there. Due to the intense heat, there were blackouts in Italy this week, and we will likely be seeing more and more rolling blackouts or grid failures due to the excessive heat due to climate change. Not knowing what's real, you can't even believe your eyes anymore to know if something's real or something's AI, or what you hear. And there are all these kind of deceptive tactics that criminals are using. People's minds are literally starting to fracture, or people are starting to act very out of control in public, on airplanes. Uranus rules aviation, and people are just being snatched off the streets with these ICE raids by masked men with no identification, no papers, no anything. People are under so much stress, they are having serious breakdowns mentally from it. Uranus stresses. King Solomon's Judgement is a download that came to me about this transit. Two women came to King Solomon. This is a biblical story, and they both had children, and one of the children died, and they were both claiming the live child was their own. And they wanted him to decide who got to keep the baby. And he said, I will cut the baby in half and give each of you half, which would obviously leave a dead baby. And one of the mothers said, okay, thanks. And the other one said, no, do not harm the baby. Give it to her. And King Solomon said, you are the rightful mother. And this brings to mind how a shocking judgment can lead to a path of truth, and words can be used as tools of revelation, and how there will be provocations that lead to people finding the courage to speak up even when it harms themselves. And we're going to be getting a judgment soon about birthright citizenship. The Trump administration wants to take it away from people who were born in the United States, but their parents may have come to the country illegally. And this violates the Constitution. The Constitution says if you're born in the United States, you are a U.S. citizen. And so even if the Supreme Court gives him the right to do, it will likely be tied up in the courts for years. but this is another stress causing people who, can you imagine if they start to deport children who have been in the country, who were born here? There will be outraged among many if the Trump administration starts to ban children who are born in the US and forcing them to leave or sending them to countries they've never been to. The administration has also said they're going to expedite deporting naturalized citizens, so people who have gone through the process of becoming a citizen, who have civil judgments against them. It's straight up ethnic cleansing. Yeah. Pluto in Aquarius to maintain power over people. So we are in times that some of which are quite dark, but there's also incredible brightness in terms of there's going to be so much innovation and new opportunities. I am going to hold on to hope that the power will, through struggle, move back to the people and we will not become an authoritarian state. We shall see what happens. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a full moon at 18 Capricorn on Thursday. Full moons are times of full illumination where all is revealed. The sun will be in Cancer, a sign that rules home, family, identity in terms of citizenship and nationalism. National pride is Cancerian. It's tribal. The moon will be in Capricorn, which rules governments, big business, the elderly, tradition, and it's the sign of the moon's detriment. The moon is as far away from home as it can be. It wants to be in Cancer, but it's in Capricorn. The moon is in exile, and the moon rules the people. The sun rules the leader. So who's next for the leader to exile? I've already mentioned that naturalized citizens are next up on who is going to be moved to deportation if it's decided that a civil offense is worthy of deportation. Children away from their citizenship is quite possible. The Department of Justice memorandum dated June 11th, which was the Sagittarius full moon, directed prosecutors to prioritize civil denaturalization of citizens for civil procedure or law. So we will see what that really means. The moon is reporting into Saturn because Saturn rules Capricorn in Aries, the sign of its detriment. So this feels like a really harsh full moon in a lot of ways. And Saturn in Aries, the punishment can be much harsher than the crime. People are being sent to countries they're not even from across the world. We are in dark times in a lot of ways, so we'll see what happens in the United States and in other countries. There is just a greater push around nativism and tribalism and protection of a country and its resources with Jupiter, which expands and protects in the sign of Cancer. Now, in our own lives, this is an annual full moon where there can be internal thoughts about legacy, where we are on our journey and where we want to go. What kind of mark do we want to leave, whether it is with our work or our children or our creative projects? What do you want to be remembered for? That's Capricorn. And with the sun in Cancer, are you protecting or hold yourself back because of fear of judgment or being seen. Cancer is the crab that can go into its shell when it feels like it could be at risk. It's a time for emotional maturity and to put on our big girl or big boy pants and deal with reality. The lunar phase family of this cycle was seated on January 11th, 2024, where the sun and moon were both at 20 degrees of Capricorn. You can look back and see, was anything seated in your life at that time? The first quarter moon, which is a time of course correction, sun in Libra, moon in Capricorn, October 10th, 2024, both at 17 degrees. Was there something related to what was seated that had a pivot point? And now we're at the full moon, sun in Cancer, moon in Capricorn, July 10th of 2025, both at 18 degrees. And the last quarter moon of this cycle, which is a crisis of consciousness, where we've learned lessons and are ready to release and move on to the next thing. The sun in Aries, moon in Capricorn, both at 20 degrees on April 20th, 2026. So your chart is being activated by the moon in the same place, in the same house, and see if you notice a story. The sun at 18 Cancer, the tarot card is the Three of Cups, which is a beautiful card of community, celebration, friendship. The Sabian symbol is a fragile miss, representative of proud old blood is wed in a marriage ceremony by a priest to an eager youth of the new order. This Sabian symbol gives themes of people of different backgrounds marrying, breaking social norms. This is something that the MAGA faithful really do not like. There is a big, horrible thing going on right now where one of these influencers, I won't even say her name, is celebrating the alligator Alcatraz that was built in Florida to house inmates and suggested we should feed every single Hispanic person in the country to an alligator. We are just in dark times in some ways. And this is a person who speaks to the President of the United States regularly and is rumored to be his paramour. The moon at 18 degrees of Capricorn is the Three of Pentacles tarot card, a card of teamwork and collaboration. A child of about 5 carrying a huge shopping bag filled with groceries. And these two, in many of especially red states in the United States, they are lowering the age where children can work. So, all of these hard-won gains to keep children out of factories. People fought fiercely for labor laws and labor protections, and these things are being scaled back and taken away. And so they want to put younger and younger children to work. And this brought to the theme about a child having to work and take care of the groceries for the family. And these two together, and because Saturn is slowing down to station retrograde, I thought with the Sabian symbols, there might be some story about a memo leaked, maybe about the administration pressuring companies not to use mixed race people in advertisement or showing gay couples. I wonder if something is going to come out about that topic. So we shall see what happens. But yeah, this full moon is very Saturnian. So if you feel very emotional and don't know why, this is likely why, because there is a lot of intensity to this full moon. and you may feel a little anger being stimulated. Mars and the South Node are getting close together. So just be mindful to be aware that it's emotionally expansive and a little harsh. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Saturn will station retrograde at 1 Aries, July 12th through November 27th, where it will station direct at 25 Pisces. Retrogrades are an optical illusion where it looks like a planet's moving backwards through the sky, but it is not. It just has to do with the relationship between the planet and the Earth. And planets are closest to Earth when they're retrograde, intensifying the energy, and moving backwards is an affliction. And so there are problems that can surface. Retrogrades bring delays, conflicts, reversals, and the potential for the collapse of what was contemplated. And themes related to the planet. Saturn rules boundaries, controls, structures, the authority, hardship, prisons. And Aries is a fire sign, and it rules war and the military, firefighters, first responders. And so there may be a story on the day Saturn stations retrograde, which reflects these topics and these themes. There will be a story. And the question is, what will it be? It could be about a fire. There's fires burning in several locations around the world, wildfires. It could be a breakout of hostilities. But just notice when you're reading the news, think about these themes and what comes up, and I will talk about it next week if there is a big story. But it likely will be a story in the United States because Saturn is stationing retrograde on the IC, which has to do with land, the opposition, and rebels. I'm wondering if there will be an expose about what is going on in this CCOT prison or any of these other places that migrants have been sent to. It's just broken today, July 2nd, as I'm recording this, that Kilmar Garcia was tortured while he was in the CCOT prison. So we'll probably be hearing more about that. I wrote down Noah's Ark. Now, that might be more to do with the full moon because the sun is in Cancer, a water sign, and maybe there will be big rains somewhere, but Noah's Ark just keeps coming to my mind. And a leader could be revealed. Something that was done in the dark could come to the light. Retrogrades pull back the tape so that we can see what's underneath. Maybe there'll be journalism about the face shove that Macron's wife gave him. That was the big story the day after Saturn moved into Aries, or something about the bomb being dropped on Iran, or deals between the Trump administration and Israel in order to engage in that war. We shall see. There could be infrastructure failures, border or territory issues, and problems coming from impulsivity. So just slow down is what I would recommend. This is not a time to hit the gas when you're coming up to a stoplight. It's really a bad time to do because you may not see what's in your blind spot. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is relinquish. Venus in Gemini is sextile first Saturn in Aries, both at 1 degree, and then Neptune retrograde in Aries at 2 degrees. Then the moon enters Sagittarius, mutable fire, at 3:05 p.m. Pacific time. I love the Sagittarius moon. It's fiery. It's feisty. There's energy of freedom. And then we have a gibbous moon at 0 Sagittarius at 3:16 p.m. Pacific time, where the moon is pregnant with possibilities. And the image I got with this flow of energy is that people are maybe at a dance party and there's some kind of problem and they are rushing to the fire door. Saturn rules boundaries and Aries fire. And because they need to Neptune escape for some reason, the moon will be in Scorpio, so that there's themes of intensity, power struggles, facing potential harm with that. And the moon enters Sagittarius and there's freedom. So notice if there's a story around that. And with Uranus going into Gemini on Monday. So this will, by the time you hear this, will already probably have happened. But this could be like if there was a problem, a smoke-filled airplane cabin or something, and they will tell you to relinquish your belongings. Do not take anything. Just get out. So that could be something that happens. Like if there was an electrical fire caused by some kind of leak of something, this is the energy I get with this flow, where there's some kind of hardship that leads to something dissolving and allowing exit and freedom being on the other end. And last Sunday's word was showdown, and I went through this whole story about you going to a Broadway play, and it turned out the night before, so Saturday night, Beyonce, in her flying car going across the stage in Houston, had a malfunction, and it was on its side. And Lord help us if something had happened to Beyonce. I really don't like her up there in that car. And Mars is in her sun sign, and with Uranus in Gemini, and she's in her Uranus opposition. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see if there's a story that matches. So sometimes when I get these images, the story's not exact, but it has the energy flow. On Monday, the word of the day is hunger. This is the day Uranus enters Gemini. So notice what you hear. If you're an alarm, this could be like an Amber Alert for a child goes off. That would be Uranus, a sudden shock about Gemini, a child, or twins and their dress kind of funky. That would be Uranus in Gemini. Or you see a movie called King Solomon, and maybe you think about the story I told about the twins about the baby being split in half. Venus in Gemini will trine Pluto in Aquarius on this day, both at 3 degrees. Venus trine Pluto, there can be a little intensity, a little sexy something around love, a power struggle in a relationship, sexual attention. It can also be Pluto is retrograde, so we may be finding out information about a Venus in Gemini. So the United States having Gemini on the descendant, something we've done with one of our allies. It could be a story that comes to our conscious attention, like maybe, another country spying on our own citizens for our administration or something like that could come up. Mars in Virgo is semi-square Chiron in Aries, so could have something to do with some kind of attack. I have been concerned about all that Doge information that Elon Musk has and the people who worked for him who were hackers who were allowed to just rifle through Americans' information. The bill, it hasn't passed yet. It passed the Senate, but not the House. The budget bill that's going to add massive debt to the United States economy and give massive tax breaks to the wealthy and knock the poorest people off Medicaid and take away nutritional assistance. So that's where I got hunger from. Uranus and Gemini, the bill passes potentially, and there will be kids who won't be getting potentially food to eat. But I got the image of a kid chewing on a Rice Krispie treat. On Tuesday, the word of the day is philosophy. The Sagittarius moon is squaring the nodes at 20 degrees. So Sagittarius is a sign of higher beliefs, the bigger picture, philosophy, religion. It rules long distance travel, foreign things that are unfamiliar. And the South Node in Virgo is saying, let go of some of the details. And the North Node in Pisces is saying, caring about things that don't necessarily affect you directly, but impact us as a collective. This is crossroads energy where there may be some announcement about a new government program that has you questioning your philosophy. On Wednesday, the word of the day is pressure cooker. The moon enters Capricorn at 1:54 a.m. Pacific time. And the first thing it does is square Saturn and then Neptune in Aries and then oppose Jupiter in Cancer. The moon rules the people, and this is the flow of the energy. So it's like you come up against a restriction with Saturn, or there's something about tight emotional control. And it's challenged by the Aries impulsive demands. This could be like a child demanding your attention right now, even though you have 10 things to do. With Jupiter in Cancer, there's like this emotional boiling point, and it's about holding it together until you can't. And then there's this release of energy, and hopefully it's something that brings growth rather than a collapse where you're just like screaming and yelling at your child. With Uranus and Gemini, recognize or be awakened to how you're really about to lose it. Take some deep breaths and let the steam cool down before reacting. On Thursday, the word of the day is diversity. The full moon is at 18 Capricorn at 1:36 p.m. Pacific time. What is revealed to you about your relationship to Capricornian themes? Duty, responsibility, structures, boundaries, controls, legacy, maturity, these sorts of things. And with the sun in Cancer, I think there's going to be news about more nationalistic policies and trying to eject people from the United States. Of course, people of color, we know they're trying to bring South Africans into the country. They already have. And apparently, the South African people have been just dumped in the country and left to their own devices, and they can't go back home. They don't have any support or anything, or barely any support. It was a wink and a nod to the MAGA base. Ooh, look, this is who we're bringing in as we revoke the citizenship or kick out hundreds of thousands of other migrants, including people who have helped us, like Afghanis during the Afghanistan war. So that's why the word of the day is diversity. On Friday, the word of the day is deliverance. The moon squares Chiron. People might be a little bit fiery. Chiron is in Aries. And then the moon moves into Aquarius at 10:20 a.m. Pacific time. Aquarius rules friends, groups, and organizations. Or you have to go to a meeting at work and you're like, oh, this gives me a headache. And there could be some power struggles at the meeting and you're thinking about deliver me from this meeting. And on this day, the Cancer sun trines the North Node in Pisces at 19 degrees. The sun rules the leader, so there may be a story about a country accepting refugees. Pisces rules refugees. The North Node rules groups. And there have been all sorts of news about different countries, like Spain has relaxed their immigration standards. So students who can no longer study in the US can go there. A lot of countries are taking advantage of the US expelling of top students to take them in and making it difficult to do anything scientific. France is accepting scientists from the United States. So there may be some story around that. And on Saturday, the word of the day is unruly. The Aquarius moon is opposite Mercury in Leo at 14 degrees. So if you're in a group and maybe you're playing board games, or maybe Monopoly, and I don't know, somebody gets a little unruly with, or spades or whatever, a card game with their selling wolf tickets, which is like talking smack about how they're going to win this, win that. That could be something that's going on on this day. And then Saturn stations retrograde at 1 Aries. So if you have anything at 1 Aries or 29 Pisces or 2 Aries, just be aware to be extra mindful to move through the day a little bit slowly, because impatience can lead to a problem that has consequences. Saturn rules consequences. Like you're rushing and you like bump your head and now you've got a huge headache or something like that. So just keep that in mind. Be careful with fire. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrologies in action, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it.
I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.